This video was made possible by the EA Creator Network. Hello everyone. Welcome on in to The Sims 4 and a fabulous speed build. I'm Velvet. Thank you for coming in and joining me today. Just a reminder, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button for me so you can pop on back another time and check out some of my other content as well. I'd love it if you could. Anyway, what are we building today? Fabulous question. We are building a 3-bedroom suburban home. So it's like a little family home that I have put together. And do you know what the great thing about this build is that it's a limited pack build. So it is base game and city living only. You know, when I think about build packs that I like to use in the game of Sims 4, one of the packs that does not actually go straight to brain is the city living pack. I'm not saying that it's a bad pack or that it's a pack that doesn't have great build buy. Not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that I don't often think about it as a build buy pack. So I thought it'd be really interesting to put together a build that really utilized city living and allowed me basically to explore the pack a little bit more and really see some of the items in the pack that I really just kind of overlook. So that's kind of what this build is about. Now, the exterior of this house, you will see, probably takes, I'm going to say 3 or 4 different exterior paints on the on the exterior of this build. It will, maybe more than that actually, it evolves quite a lot. I will like paint it and then I'll leave it and then I'll go back and I'll paint it again and then I'll leave it and then I'll go back and then I'll paint it again. The amount of times that I painted the exterior of this house is a little bordering on a little bit of ridiculous, but I just couldn't quite settle on something until I like came across the wallpaper swatch that I was just like, no, that is the perfect swatch. That's the one I'm using. So yeah, that'll evolve as we go along. So you'll see that change as we go. And I'm building a little garage off to the side as well, just a little cutie garage, because I thought, you know, that's a really good place to put some hobby stuff in. So I wanted to include a garage just for hobby stuff because I think the majority of the interior of the house is basically just living space and bedrooms. So I needed another little area just for some hobbies and bits and pieces in there. So this was a fun build. I had a lot of fun. It was actually pretty quick to get to put together the shell, and then it just took me a little bit longer just to decorate it and just decide on a few things because I kind of put stuff out there and then it's just kind of like, no, I want to change it. And then, no, I want to change it. Do you guys, for those of you that build, do you sometimes have that where you're kind of building and then you just can't seem to quite make up your mind about how you want something to go? And I feel like this build was a little bit like that in the sense that, you know, I was kind of trying a few different things and then I'll be like, no. So yeah, it underwent some definite changes along the way, but I think it ended up looking pretty good by the time we got to the end of it. So I was happy about that, and I think it was cute, and I did really well with just base game and city living to, you know, to fill it with like a lot of decoration, and I feel like, you know, it ended up looking like a really cute family suburban home. I actually really love those columns that we get, and they're actually base game columns with the stone on it that you saw just a second ago. Those are, I'm gonna say like the mega columns, mega something columns. So yeah, base game ones, but unless you're looking through the swatches, you don't realize there's a stone swatch with those, and then there's a matching foundation with them as well, which is really cool. The only thing that I wish that those columns didn't have was that like wide base on the bottom, because if they were just thin square columns without that base on the bottom, oh man, they would be probably one of, if not the best column in the game, because that makes them super stackable. And I love that. Like my favorite column in the game is the I think it's a pillar column from Get Together, and it's just like, it's plain. It's got like a whole lot of different colors, and you can just stack it up so easily. So you can have it bottom floor, top floor, like I've done with the other columns in there. I think they're the Solidad base game columns. and you know, you can stack them up, top floor and bottom floor, and they look great. Whereas those columns that I've used with the stone on them, unfortunately, they only look good. Well, they're not so easy to stack up. Like, they look a little bit funny with the big knobby thing in the middle of the, you know, 2-floor stack. So yeah, I just wish they were flat all the way down. So in terms of the house itself, I used like terrain paint on the ground. I thought that was going to be a little bit more flexible for me in terms of just being able to put it where I needed it, and I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to do any curves and, you know, that sort of thing along the way. So I decided just to do the terrain paint rather than doing actual flooring, and I think it ended up looking fine. So I was happy with that. It's just like a, you know, like the rivery rocky kind of thing. And then around the back, I was playing around with this for a little while because I was contemplating doing something a little different with the pool, but I couldn't find. I couldn't decide what. Again, a little indecisive, but I couldn't decide what I wanted to kind of do. I was thinking about having like a little section that would cover the pool, but it just didn't quite work out. So yeah, you can sort of see the shape of the house. It's sort of grays and whites now, which does end up being the final sort of color palette. I haven't quite reached my final wallpaper yet, but we're getting closer because it went, as I said, this build went through a lot of evolutions in terms of style and everything like that. We've got there in the end, and as you can see here, I'm putting in a little basketball court, which is cool. Like, it's a little like one-on-one kind of hoopy area, but you know, that's really fun for fitness. And I just put in like the little benches and that sort of thing. So I use the robes as like little tiny towels hanging from the mega wall hunks. I thought that was a cute idea. You know, just like you rub off with those towels that are kind of hanging from the wall, and you got extra towels there. Can't remember. I think I did keep them there. And I added like some drinks in there as well. So I thought there was like a cute little sporty area for the family to hang out in, because this is definitely a family home. This does end up being a 3-bedroom home. So there's the master bedroom, a nursery, and a kid's room with bunks. So single bunks there. Not that there's double bunks in the game anyway, but yeah, single bunks. So 3 bedrooms, and I'm going to say 2 bathrooms. Yes, 2 bathrooms with that. So I felt that was really cool. Yeah, I was playing around with the pool for a little while, trying to decide whether or not I could put something over the top, but it just felt like really weird and low and just kind of covered up the pool, and it didn't look any good, so I scrapped that idea. Sometimes you have these ideas and they don't necessarily come to fruition. I did want to do in this house a little bit more of a contained sort of landscaped backyard, so I didn't really go overboard with the flowers. I did put like flowers in the build because you can sort of see those under the windows and everything like that, but I didn't want to go overboard with the flowers throughout the house. And I felt like, you know, because it's only a 30 by 20 lot, I didn't have a lot of space for things for the family to do, to allow for a whole lot of like garden space and that sort of thing. So I did it in a very contained way. So you can sort of see that I did the little fences around the outside, and just put the plants in between there, and just used like the one sort of plant running through there. And then we had like something else on the windows, and then I used those around the front as well, and then a hedge. So I kept it really simple as far as the landscaping went, but I felt like it was really good for that particular build in that lot, and it just added that little pretty sort of decoration effect without needing a whole lot of space for gardening to achieve it. So I feel like that was good. And plus there was quite a lot of indoor-outdoor flow with this build as well. So, you know, you got your top balcony, and I did like your lounges, and I think I did like a chessboard and bits and pieces up there. And then downstairs, I mean, you've got the little basketball court area, you've got your barbecue area, and then you've got your pool area as well. So there's some really good, outdoor entertainment areas for the whole family outside. So, you know, it'd be really good for entertaining, and, you know, the kids can have friends over, and they can go play on the basketball court or go for a swim. So yeah, I felt like it was going to be really good. I didn't go particularly crazy with any specifically kid things on the exterior. I felt like I could put a pool and I could put a basketball court, and it's stuff that the kids could do and the adults could do. But I didn't put in, you know, the classic swings or the monkey bars or anything like that, because yeah, I just wanted to go something a little bit different, because I always put swings and monkey bars and things like that. So I just kind of steered away from them this time because I wanted to do something a little different, and so I put in a basketball court. That was kind of how that ended up being. So that was the chessboard going in there. So, and did I put it in a dollhouse? I'm just trying to think. I don't think I did. So that leads us to the interior. So I'm just going to shape out our floor plan. So I've got an entrance coming in on the downstairs area. So it's the entrance that comes in, and then you've got a separate living room. You've got a separate kitchen and a separate dining, and plus there's one guest bathroom downstairs. And then upstairs, which is where we are now, you've got the 3 bedrooms plus 1 bathroom as well. And it's a large bathroom, so it's a good size. The other thing that I did a little differently with this build is I actually connected the nursery and the master bedroom as well. So you'll see that a little bit later on, that I did keep a connection between those 2 rooms because I felt like it made sense to me that they would be connected. And also I used tile throughout the common areas of the house, and then I also mixed that up with carpet. Now normally I like to use a lot of wood in my flooring in the houses, but I wanted to do again something a little different, so I mixed it up and decided to use like that slate tile from City Living. So again, I was trying to take advantage of the City Living pack and, you know, exploring that with a little bit more depth, because I haven't really spent a lot of time exploring the building items in City Living. So this is my opportunity to really take a chance at mucking around with them. That's really what it's about. This is me changing the exterior of the build again. It's still going to change again, by the way. I know, I've already changed it a few times, and it's still going to change, I think, at least one more time. And so on the interior, I went sort of like the grey slate flooring with the brown carpet, and then mix that with the blue wallpaper. And I created like a cute little, sort of like a hall closet, which is what this is going to be. So you'll sort of see that evolve as we go along. We didn't really have a lot of items to create, like the hall area and that sort of thing with these 2 packs, but I did the best I could with the packs I had. Just used like a little spandrel and a curtain and an archway. An archway for the dooring. The door as well. Oh my god, the dooring. Oh boy. I used the base game curtains, I think they're the dorm curtains or something like that. They've got the ugly top, but you can hide those with the curtain rail. So I feel like they're quite good modern curtains if you can hide the top of them. So that's what I generally do with them. And just sort of made up my own sort of stuff when it came to the hallway. So, you know, just use some of the basics and then just kind of mix them up a little bit with some shelving and stuff like that. So hopefully I made it look, made it look cute. I just tried a couple of little different things and mixed it up a bit, and I feel like it sort of came together quite nicely. So I was happy with that. So on the shelving, I just added the vintage books and then did something decorative on the top shelf there. And just using the base game towel shelf to click and drag the items across onto the shelving so it sits at the height that I want it. That's an easy way just to get that happening when you are placing clutter like that, just to click and drag across, because the towel rack itself actually has a really good small and medium slot shelving on it, so you can kind of use quite a variety of items with it. I used the Mega Wall Hunk Archie thing to create like a cool art deco style lamp area. So that was what I was just doing on the wall before. And then I'm using this beautiful shelf. I love this shelf actually from City Living. I don't use it nearly enough, but it actually fills up the space quite nicely, and you can put all sorts of little different things with it. So yeah, I just use that as a little decoration space. And again, just using like little consoles and doing little different things around the house just to fill the space up a little bit, because I didn't have a great deal of artwork to choose from. Fortunately, I built this or decorated this after the West African base game update, so I had like those items to work with, which is fantastic because they're beautiful modern looking items that I felt like I could make work in this house. So you can sort of see those around as I go. Then we have our kitchen. So the kitchen's kind of quite open. It's got like open archways, and then it's got the half walls, so you can kind of look in on the kitchen and check in on things. And then that sort of like connects through to the dining room as well. So you've got the ability to actually go in and, go in between the kitchen and the dining room if you need to. But the dining room can be separate, so, the guests don't necessarily have to sit there and watch you cook or whatever the dealio is there. But I managed to fit quite a lot of beautiful clutter into this build, and that's the lovely magnet board that we got with the Forever Friends event. I actually really love putting that magnet board in kitchens. It's quite handy to fill a decorative space, because I really do feel that one of the things that we are lacking in the game is decorative items for the wall for the kitchen. And if you have like a Home Chef Hustle and you have Cool Kitchen, a stuff pack, you know, those are handy and they have some good stuff, like a chopping board and stuff. Kitchen clutter pack, I love that pack, but I do feel that they kind of missed a trick by not having up a hanging oven glove. And I wish they had like a couple more hanging things. They had the vegetable baskets that are hanging, but that was the only hanging item in the kitchen clutter pack. Aha, we've finally got our final wallpaper on the outside. So I actually ended up using the base game Nature's Calling event wallpaper in that sort of shale look. Tiley sort of shaley, I don't know what it is, but you know, Tiley shaley kind of look wallpaper in the grey, and that just looked perfect. So that was what I ended up keeping. So the dining room I kept fairly simple and just did it in like blacks and whites with a blue wallpaper. And I actually really like the saucy rug that I chose. I thought that was really cool, the animal print rug, and that ended up working really nicely with the art that I got from the West African update. So yeah, I really like the dining room and the way that was shaped up. I probably would have wanted maybe a little bit more space for it, but the space was what the space was. So this is the first of the two bathrooms, and this is the guest / downstairs bathroom. And I kept it pretty simple. I didn't put too much in there, but you know, I think I got all the sort of the decorations in there. I mean, when it comes to the packs that we had, I mean, we weren't sort of greatly endowed with clutter for the bathrooms. So it is what it is. And this is the living room space. So that's kind of opposite the kitchen and in behind the big shelving unit that we put in, and behind the bathroom as well. So this is the last room in the downstairs area, and I just added like, you know, things like the console or the cube console and like the remotes and that sort of thing into that area. And I wanted to keep it kind of modern, so I was playing around with the wallpaper. I just felt like it needed something a little bit more decorative. And then I was like looking at that leaf wallpaper and I was just like, oh, that's kind of perfect. Just as that, you know, that little touch of something more in the living room area. So ended up using that, and I think it was a good decision. I like how that kind of ended up looking with the, you know, the contrast of the decorative wallpaper versus the plain blue. And I think that looked good. And plus, you know, a little bit of touches of the grey coming in with that, and that worked with the outside of the build as well, because we had grey on the outside too. Oh, and I love those picture frames that we got with the Forever Friends event too. Those little blank ones that you can put stuff in. Those are great for decoration. Plus, these new cushions that we got from, what was that? Oh yeah, that was the West African update cushions. They're lovely as well. So really nice colours there, and how pretty they're looking. So I liked how we got all those things, and they helped me decorate in a modern way. That made me very happy. So happy Velvet over here. I think we've just got a couple more little things that we need to do in the living room space, and then we're about done with the downstairs area, and then we can get to move on to the upstairs area. Been pretty easy, isn't it? Not too bad, but I did want to try and use as much of the city living stuff as I could, you know, because as I said, I don't really use a lot of city living in my building, and I just wanted to explore that a little bit more, so I used those couches and chairs. They're not normally my first choice when it comes to couches and chairs, but I don't dislike them. So I was like, you know what, they've kind of got a modern vibe about them, so why not? So we moved upstairs now, and this is the upstairs kitchen. No, bathroom. Not a kitchen at all, clearly. It has a shower in it. I don't know about you, but I don't know any kitchens that have showers in them. It'll be an odd thing, wouldn't it? So this is a fairly large family space, so I managed to fit in a bath into that area. You got a bath, a shower, sink, and toilet, so you can kind of have a really nice, useful bathroom for any sort of age, I think, in that bathroom. So, you know, you can bathe the kids when they're a bit younger. Oh, this is the garage. Almost forgot about decorating the garage, but I remembered just in time. So in the garage, I do like to add in a lot of hobby stuff, or at least some hobby stuff, just to make it functional and for there to being a point, because I mean, obviously we cannot drive cars in The Sims 4, so there's not actually much point to garages, unless you have another purpose for them. And in this case, I had like woodworking and I had art in here. So, you know, you've got some options in terms of doing hobby stuff in here. And I just decorated it with stuff that really kind of worked with that. A little bit of storage, so you can store stuff in here. I just wanted it to make, you know, to make it look like it was a classic sort of garage where you were kind of using it multi-purpose. And, you know, you do a bit of painting in there because obviously you don't want to paint in the house because the kids are going to get into it. And and a bit of woodworking as well in there. So it's just a multi-purpose area, the old garage. I always like to do that in The Sims. So then on to the bedrooms, which are the last rooms we're doing in this build. And we're starting with the nursery, which is going to be a yellows and blues and maybe a little touch of orange, maybe a little touch of pink as well. So kind of colourful and pretty, but mainly based around the colour yellow. It took me a little bit of figuring out. It's actually quite a long, thin room. So it did take a little while just to kind of figure out where I wanted things to kind of go. I was initially playing around with some different ideas for chairs and placing them along that wall and, you know, things like that. But ended up having the idea that I wanted to have the master bedroom and the nursery connected. So this is why I'm putting like an archway in there. I was like, well, you know what? It'd actually be really useful to have those things connected. The Sims can just kind of float in between because, you know, you go in when the kids are particularly young, you're going to be going in and out of that room all of the time. So it makes sense to have that very accessible, right close next to the master bedroom and, you know, easy to get in there and take care of the kids. So that's why I sort of added that archway into that. And I ended up covering that with a curtain. So it's not like you can see in all of the time, but, you know, for the purposes of gameplay, how it sort of works with the babies and crying and that sort of thing. If they're not in the same room, which they wouldn't be, then you know they shouldn't be waking up other Sims unless they kind of get up to take care of the babies if they're a caregiver. If you're in the same room as a crying, like particularly a newborn, then you can't sleep through that noise. Basically, I have learned this from the experience of the 100 Baby Challenge and the fact that you cannot sleep in the same room as a newborn. When they're crying, it just doesn't work very well. So yeah, having them in a separate room but in very close proximity is not a bad idea. So I think that's just about our nursery done. I'm just putting up the curtains and just shifting around the decoration. And then that leads us over to our master bedroom. So the master bedroom, I wanted to take advantage of the fact that we had this really nice bed from City Living. I don't use this nearly enough, but it's a bed that I actually really like. And it took me a little bit just to figure out what colours I wanted to go with. It was actually when I got those lamps in the room that the colour of the room started to really evolve. And I shifted away from the white and went like a little bit more darker and chocolate and a little bit more, I feel like it was a more mature sort of look for the room. With the darker blue and just sort of matching the bed and the wardrobe and, you know, bits and pieces like that. So, you know, it still had the white in there, but the main contrast color ended up being the dark brown, and I feel like that really worked nicely against the blue, so I was very happy about that. But I was really struggling with the artwork with this build because there isn't a great deal of great artwork with City Living or base game, so there was some limitations there, but you know, managed to make that work in the end. I feel like, you know, and mirrors are my friends. I do end up using mirrors a lot in decoration, but that's because I don't like a lot of the artwork in The Sims 4. So mirrors are good. Mirrors are nice and decorative. So this is the final bedroom that we're going to be decorating today, and that is the kids' bedroom. I actually went quite bright on this one, so I was quite delighted by it. I ended up changing that bottom bed because, as it turns out, that bottom bed will not work as a bunk bed. So that was good to know. I didn't even think there would be a problem with any single beds as bunk beds, but the Sims would not climb that bed with that bottom bed as the bottom bed because it sticks up over the end of the ladder a little bit, just the size of it. So I don't know. I ended up having to change it because they just would not climb the bunk bed with it in there. So that was a bit of a shame because it was a cute little bed, but apparently just not the right bed for going underneath as a bunk bed. And I've never actually struck that problem before, but you can sort of see the way that it clips through there. And it just presented a problem for the Sims, actually, you know, as they were going up the ladder. So, you know, it is what it is. You just work around it. But yeah, it was a bit of an odd one. Anyway, I'm going to leave you guys round about here because we're heading into tours. I want you guys just to, if you get the opportunity, to hit subscribe if you haven't already, and likes and comments are always welcome as well. I appreciate you guys watching and the time that you take to watch my content. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that. Much appreciated. And I will leave you here. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of tours. Catch you later. Bye.